Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to be learning how to draft, cut and sew a wide leg high waist pants with flap in front. This video is going to be freehand, so I'm not going to draft any pattern. I'm just going to cut it straight on the fabric. First things first is you're going to go ahead and get your folding. My folding is 14.5, and how you're going to get that is your round tie divided by 2. My round tie is 29, divided by 2 is 14.5. So that is what I'm using to get my folding. Then the second thing we are going to do is to indicate or to find out how many inches we are going to use for our waistband. For me, I like to use 3 inches for a plus size girl and 2 inches for a slimmer lady. So this person, her hip is 47, so I'm going to be using 3 inches, but I'm going to mark out 2.5. I'll place my tape at 2.5 from the beginning and get my crotch length. My crotch length is 15, so I'm going to mark 15 across here and also mark my full length. My full length of this trouser is 46. I've already gone ahead to add my sewing allowance. Actual length of this pants is 43. I just added 3 inches sewing allowance at the edge. So I'll go ahead and straight this out. Sorry guys, I didn't know that I wasn't recording. So when you have gotten your crotch length and your full length, you come here at the waist part and go in by 1 inch. Then you connect this 1 inch to your crotch length. It is now from this 1 inch that you are going to get your round waist. My round waist is 31. I'm going to be dividing that by 4, and that should give me 7.75. I'll add my sewing allowance, which is 1 inch, making it 8.75. So I'll go ahead and mark it here. At my crotch length, I will come in by 3 inches. This is for me to get my crotch, my curve, like my crotch, the angle. At this point, I'll take my tape this way and divide it in by 2. At this half point, I'll divide it again, do you see, by 4 at this point. So from here I'll just do freehand and connect it to the end of the trouser. Remember that this trouser, the end, the folding is your round tie used in doing it. I want to get my flap length. I usually like to use 2.5 inches, so I'm going to connect it 2.5, and then I'll stop somewhere here. Then I'll come to the full length and go in by 2 inches. Go ahead and cut it out. Please, I want you to be careful and watch how I cut it out. So at this point, I'll stop here and take this pants this way. This is the back pattern. On my back pattern, the folding is 17 inches, and how I got this is my round tie, which is 29 inches divided by 2, 14.5. I added 2.5 sewing allowance. This 2.5 is going to help accommodate your boards and every sewing allowance that you are going to be needing. But before we start this, the first things first we will do is to come at the top here or at the waist and mark 1 inch. So at the waist side, I'll go ahead and add 2.5 inches. Remember that we've already added 1 inch to the front pattern, so this 2.5 inches is going to be both the sewing allowance and also our darts. So at this point, we are going to mark 2.5 inches for the sewing allowance that we added, 2.5 inches for the sewing allowance, and then 2.5 inches. So at this point, we made this to be 1 inch higher. From this 1 inch that we marked here, you are going to connect this back to the center front of the front pattern. You start from this 1.5. It's just freehand. Just go this way, and then when you are reaching this end where the crotch length is, you just take a curve here. So now we're going to cut the pocket of the pants. For the pocket, I'm using 24 inches by 8.5 inches, and then I fold it. After doing that, I'll go ahead and notch here, and then open here. That is for me to know my center, the center of the pocket. I'll make sure that the notches coincide. Then I'll come here and go in by 3.5 here, by 6.5 here. Then I'll just use my hand and curve it this way. But when you reach, let me bring it closer. When you reach here, you're going to stop at 0.50. Do you get? So when you reach here 0.50, you now go this way. But then before you now cut it, you go ahead and make sure that this arranged, they are equal. Then watch how I cut this. I go in by my 0.50, that is my sewing allowance. Then I take it this way. Please keep this, is very important because I'm going to be needing it. Go ahead and bring back your trouser, the front pattern. Then you take this and proceed to place it on top of it here. You are doing this for just the front. So you go in again the 0.50, and then you turn your scissors this way and cut it. So to get my waistband, I'm using 3 inches. So I'll make sure this is 3 inches all through. Then I'll go ahead and get the length I want. I'm going to be using 40 inches. Guys, it's better your band is longer. If it's excess, you can cut it, than it is going to be short and it's not going to be enough. Next thing I'm using is cotton. Now proceed and turn this by 0.50, and then iron it whilst I hold it down. You already know that this can be equal to remain 0.50 at this edge. So first thing we are going to be doing is to sew on this line all the way here. Next thing I'll do, I'll take my zip. This is my zip. Then I'll open this flap that I've already sewn here. But you see the way I moved the both fabric to this side. So I'll open this flap and there is nothing underneath it. Figure out 1.5 sewing allowance. Beginning part of my zip, I'll put it to start here. But I'll make sure that this end coincides with this end here. I'll come and sew here. So now that we are done sewing the zip, we know we sewed this zip to just this flap. We didn't add it to this. So I'll now take this side of the zip and extend it this way. At this point now, you are going to sew both the zip, the flap, and the trouser together. As you are reaching at this end, you start curving your needle. There's a sewing, you're going to see the thread. When you reach there, you top stitch it. You can see how it looks from the front, the way it goes this curved. Proceed to fix our pockets. So now this is one of the pockets. At this point that I cut this, I'll make sure that the front of the fabric, the pocket fabric, is matching with the front of the trouser. I'll go ahead and push this sewing allowance to the pocket side and top stitch it. So at this point, after joining it, you now take the down part of the pockets and sew it round this way. So at this point that we notch this, indicating the center of the pocket, we'll close it up together this way, fold the pockets this way. This point where we join the pocket and the fabric together, you hold it also with the pockets being under it. So I'll now go ahead and sew this. You see how this part of the pant is looking, even though we have not ironed it, but you can tell. So I'm going to do the same thing for this side and then come back. I'll now go ahead and join both the back and the front pattern together. We are going to come and join the mid, like the crotch region. So you're going to make sure that the sewing both coincide, and then open your sewing allowance, then you pin it and go right ahead and sew. So now we're going to proceed to put the dart at the back of the pant. So I'll take this center and make it coincide with this side. Remember that our round waist is 31 divided by 4 is 3.75. So I'll come here and mark the 3.75. The remaining space is going to be my sewing allowance for my dart. So at the beginning part of the fabric, well, at this side, I mark 5 inches. That is where my dart is going to stop. Now I'm done ironing the pants, I'll go ahead and make sure that the side here coincides with this. I'll go ahead and measure out 1.5 inch. I'll leave 0.50 at this edge and then connect it this way. I'll finally go ahead and open up this sewing we did. Go ahead and attach the band to the waist of the trouser. We'll fold this into 2 and then sew here. So I'll turn it over to this side and make sure that it's neatly done. I'll also turn this side in. I'll make sure I put my stitch at this point where this joining is in between it. As I'm also doing that, I'll make sure that I'm carrying the under part of the flap.